KHKT News Today.
Forget about the pot calling the kettle black. Listen below as Crooked Hillary calls out the Trump family for hypocrisy regarding emails. If her blatant treason and criminally negligent Benghazi homicides weren't so rage-provoking, you might actually laugh at her ongoing delusion and desperate attempts to stay in the spotlight. Most Americans would really like it if Hillary Clinton would find a new hobby. You know, something to fill her time besides the constant complain and blame lethargy in which she continues to marinate. The American people have moved on. Even Democrats have moved on. And we all want her to shut up. But Hillary can seem to do so. In her latest Gripe Fest, an interview with SiriusXM's Zerlina Maxwell yesterday, Crooked Hillary actually strained to make America believe that her repeated national security breaches, along with those poor, unfortunate Americans in Benghazi, are nothing burgers in comparison to the Trump family's emails. But first, a shameless plug for her book. In the book, I have a chapter. And I hope you'll read it. So much of her private server email scandal was overblown, untrue, aimed to score political points, which it did. I take responsibility for it. If Hillary were looking for absolution, the time to take responsibility for repeatedly breaching national security would be during the FBI investigations and congressional inquiries. Doing so on a book tour after the fact doesn't show leadership, but cowardice. Incredulously, Hillary then said her email scandal wasn't as bad as the scandal that Republicans manufactured from it, seemingly out of thin air. It was a dumb mistake. But it was a dumber scandal, and our country had to go through it. And I regret it, and the hypocrisy of this administration, who knew there was no scandal, who knew there was no basis for their hyperventilating. Republican members of Congress who politicized the deaths in Benghazi, which I thought was outrageous. They deliberately tried to politicize the deaths of those 4 Americans. If you believe Hillary's spin, deliberately setting up a private server in her home to hide the fact that she sent top-secret information overseas undetected is merely a mistake. Whereas what Trump and Republicans did was far worse, they exposed Clinton's mistake for political gain. And don't you dare blame her for going to sleep when the Benghazi 4 were trying to fend off a major terrorist attack on the U.S. Embassy there. It doesn't matter that she ignored her responsibility as Secretary of State for a few more hours of sleep and that doing so got 4 Americans killed. What is truly outrageous in Hillary's mind is that anyone would call her on her complete dereliction of duty. Her narcissism knows no bounds. It just goes to the rank hypocrisy that this Trump campaign and now this Trump White House is engaged in. In and of itself, it's bothersome. But I worry about what it means for the lives of Americans. And I go back to healthcare. Then she deflected to the healthcare debate, claiming that the cruelty of the current GOP healthcare bill is even worse than the hypocrisy of Trump family members using private email accounts, not an entire private, standalone, national security compromising server in their homes, but accounts, to send a few government emails that had no top-secret information on them. As a Democrat and a Clinton, Crooked Hillary thinks she's not only above the law but also that everyone else's questionable infractions, relative to her high crimes and criminally negligent homicides, serve as a point of deflection. And as usual, the mainstream media is complicit in the whole wizard of spin delusion. Pay no attention to the she-man breaching national security behind the curtain. The great Clinton has spoken. As much as Americans don't want to listen to her any longer, the one good purpose Crooked Hillary's delusional catharsis serves, is to remind all who voted for Trump that they didn't just dodge a bullet, but an intercontinental ballistic missile by keeping her out of the White House. If she keeps this up, the twice-failed presidential candidate may even help Republicans win future elections.